hate ads that are just hit you over the head obvious. It's always more fun to have people go, and
Yeah.
that kind of takes a minute to get. To me, that's the most effective
What is
stuff.
that? Is that sophistication? What is that? I feel like it elevates,
It
the
does.
communication.
I think it does. I think
Yeah.
it restores a little bit of faith in humanity. We're
Yeah.
not all idiots.
All right, episode 161, Rob, we're back.
161.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of something interesting to say about the number, but
I don't
that's
know. Rhyming, I mean, does it even really matter that we even reference what I feel like the reference to the episode number is just for us, and
it
it's not
is.
necessarily for anyone else. No one gives
It,
a rat's,
it is. It is.
And podcasts, you don't have to listen in order, like watching an HBO TV show or an Apple show or whatever. It doesn't build on
Yeah.
itself. It's not, I guess we've done a few series, right, where we talk about certain things, but
Yeah.
other than
But we've
that.
never really done like a part 1, part 2 where you have to know you know what I mean? I don't
The only
think.
time I think we ever did it was for the tennis Atlanta Cup,
Well,
right?
that's
Where it
true.
was
No,
like,
you're right.
hey,
That's true.
does not real time design type
That's true.
approach,
Yep.
So,
Yep.
all right,
That's
episode
true.
161. What are we talking about today, man?
Well, I'll tell you. So I recently stumbled across a book, believe
Okay,
it or not,
I love
with
books.
words, with lots of
Huge,
letters and lots of words.
a huge fan.
And I will tell you, I'll show you the book and tell you
Okay,
the book. It's called Advertisers Anonymous,
okay,
12 Steps to Creative Salvation, and is written by a gentleman by the name of Ron Huey,
okay.
who is an a storied Atlanta ad guy, I'll
Mhm.
say. And it sort of got me thinking about, back when we were starting out, I was starting out, people that I looked up to in the
Yeah,
industry, right? And that inspired me in one way or the other,
totally.
to sort of go down this path and to do work that I was proud of and all those kind of good things like that. So I thought
Yeah,
maybe we would talk a little bit about that today.
I love it. I love it.
Um,
Did you ever meet Ron?
oh yeah,
Okay,
I worked with him.
okay.
Yeah,
I never met either Ron or
or
Joe.
Joe.
Yeah,
The no,
I
it's a
mean,
good
being
book.
in
It's a good
Atlanta.
book. Here's my quick little plug for the
Yeah,
book. It's Advertisers Anonymous. It's obviously a play on AA, 12
yeah,
steps, and all that.
sure.
Not making light of it, of course, but
Yeah, 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 yeah.
um, and it's an easy to read. It's kind of in little stories and snippets, so
Okay,
it's a great travel read, I'll say.
yeah.
Um,
Is it kinda like the Rick Rubin book I know that we had talked
yeah,
about, and that
yeah,
sort of like little different vignettes of like yeah, I like that kind of approach. I think
yeah,
it's
and
fun.
it's good. Just advertising war stories,
Yeah,
anecdotes,
yeah.
lessons learned, all those things. So I do recommend it. It's a good
Okay.
book. So congrats
How
to
did you come
Ron.
across it? Do you know?
I was on the socials
Okay,
and we're connected on the socials, and
there you go.
he mentioned it on there. So I
Okay,
I ordered it off the Amazon.
okay.
I went back to Amazon's roots and actually bought a book on Amazon,
Amazing,
which
amazing.
was amazing.
If
So
only you bought a book from Amazon on one of those old 10-inch or 13-inch iMacs that was like the blueberry colored with the
oh
big
yeah,
deep thing and the
oh yeah,
wacky mouse and all that, I feel like I used to order books on Amazon on one of those little Macs, back in
yeah.
the day.
It was like a space. They were in all the different colors.
Yeah, I
Um,
wonder what those go for on eBay or something like that, I mean, I bet they're still out there, people selling them and
Oh, of
stuff,
course they
So,
are. I'm
yeah,
sure they are.
that's crazy.
Um,
All
but
right,
that got
so,
me thinking because when I came out of school, school being Portfolio Center ad school back in, gosh,
yeah.
yeah, the late '90s, we'll say, early aughts.
Mhm.
There was so Ron Huey, it was a writer, and he had for those who don't know, and his art director partner was a guy by the name of Joe Paprocki.
Yeah.
And they had kind of bounced all over. They were in Minneapolis at Fallon for a long time, and I think out in California. Anyway, had kind of worked in a lot of big agencies, and then ended up back in Atlanta. and opened a shop called Huey Paprocki, which is
Yeah.
a great name. I mean,
It's a
it's
fantastic name.
yeah, it's a great name.
Yeah.
And they opened up this shop. It was a creative boutique. They were only, I think, only as I recall, 8 or 9 of those guys, in the basement of an old historic inn in
Okay.
Atlanta, off of North Highland. And they just started cranking out great work,
Yeah.
right? So they were kind of they had a great run. I think their agency was 7 or 8 years. And they had a great run of just
They
I mean, it
crushed
was
it.
creative, creative, creative. They won every award in the
Yeah.
every award in the books.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it wasn't awards for the sake of awards. It was just really good,
Yeah, it was awesome.
noticeable work. And so I sort of stalked those guys a little bit, coming out of school. I really wanted to work there,
Yeah. That's
and
impressive.
ended up meeting both of them just through interviews and things. The problem
Mhm.
with a shop like that is they don't hire all the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Either that or my book wasn't good enough. Who really knows? Um, but they did bring me on for a couple of freelance projects, which was really cool.
That is
And so
cool.
worked on a couple of things with them. Kind of got to see how they worked. And then later in my career, I ended up working with Joe as an art director on a
Mhm.
couple of campaigns and things. So those guys to me were always something to aspire to, just in
Yeah.
terms of creative output and
Sure.
and and the work and how hard it is, but how I suppose creatively rewarding it can be.
Well,
Um,
knowing how, the sausage is made, right? When you see output, consistent output of such a stellar quality for year after year after
yeah,
year. And to your point, not like just creative and wacky and zany for creative, wacky, zany sake, right? It was like, oh man, that is an unbelievably smart solve for that communication challenge, right? Or like, oh,
yep,
that art direction kicks ass. I've never seen anything, like it was just hit after hit after hit for those
yep,
guys. I think everybody in Atlanta was like, somewhat in awe, right, of how badass everything they did. The cup never ran empty. It just kept going and going and going. It
yeah.
was pretty impressive. So,
Yeah, and I think, a couple of quick highlights, I suppose lessons learned. One is just the simplicity. Like you get the idea and that's
yeah,
great, and then you work on it and you peel it back and you work on it and you simplify it and you boil it down and boil and this idea that at least from a writing standpoint, like every single letter makes a difference. And
yeah,
you take the headline and you write it 14 pages different ways
sure.
until you know what I mean? And then
Yeah,
so just this or Joe's art direction, just simple, simple, simple,
yeah,
simple, simple
yeah,
to get to the ad. And it's simple, but the most effective ones and what they did really well was give you that it takes a half a beat for you to get it.
yeah,
You know, I I
yeah,
I I hate ads that are just hit you over the head obvious.
yeah.
Um, it's always more fun to have people go, "Ah,"
Oh,
and
yeah,
that kinda takes
yeah.
a minute to get. To me, that's the most effective
What is
stuff.
that? Is that sophistication? What is that? I feel like it elevates,
It
the
does, yeah, I
communication.
I think it does. I think
Yeah,
it, it restores a little bit of faith in humanity. We're
yeah,
not all idiots, right?
yeah,
And yeah, I think it adds a little bit of sophistication to it.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
always like that, and then also too, I think one big takeaway was the balance of visual and headline. And
Okay,
this idea that really at the end of the day, in almost every ads, the ones that are good, one of those does the heavy lifting and the
sure.
other supports it, right?
Yeah,
Be it the
yeah,
visual with just a nice supportive line or an
agreed.
amazing headline with just a nice, clean, simple, straightforward,
Yeah,
um, simple art direction. And I've
I tend
always
to agree.
tried to adhere to that balance, right? In
Yeah,
work that we do.
yeah,
Um, so those were just a couple of lessons I learned. And I still, every now and again, will still ping back and forth with Joe and
yeah,
they're kind of on the separate paths now. But that was a really cool time in Atlanta advertising history, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
It was
I
kind
agree.
of a fun time.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
What about you?
Um, I think if we think about like mentors or people that I aspire, there's a couple that like I studied or that I became familiar with through kind of the history of graphic design and things like that, right? But unattainable to meet for various reasons, right? I think my favorite um my favorite graphic designer, right, who kinda transcended design and kinda gave me a lot of, like, energy and zhuzh of
Yeah.
like, hey, it can be more than just making something look awesome. You know what I mean? More than just design. It can be conceptual. It can be experiential. It can be experimental. You know, all these different things, right? Was a gentleman named Tibor Kalman, Tibor, Tibor Kalman.
Okay.
He ran an agency in New York called M and Co. Right. But the dude was just unbelievably prolific. He unfortunately passed away in his 50s, I believe. And
Okay. Young.
he was married to this unbelievable illustrator too, this woman named Myra Coleman, who's done a whole bunch of books. Um, but the output from that studio was just unbelievable. So he did all of the, in no particular order, because it's like a greatest hits album. Um, he did all of the Colors magazine, the United Colors of Benetton magazine, and
Yep.
he did all this crazy, like really, really far out there really interesting graphic design. He did a lot of stuff with museums in New York. Um, he did and then so he worked with like the Museum of Modern Art and stuff like that. But then not only that, he ended up designing all these products that ended up kind of in their gift store, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, oh, the umbrella that has it's a black umbrella, but then when you open it inside, it has like the sunny sky with the clouds,
Yeah.
like he designed that. He designed like all these paperweights that look like balled up legal pads and paper and stuff like that. Like he was just this unbelievable designer.
Yeah.
I was really into the fact that he did all the Talking Heads album covers and all of their artwork, right? And
Huh.
not only that, he did all of their music videos, right? So he is credited with one of the first people to use typography in one of the music videos, right? And the Talking Heads, like you know, nowadays it's like, whatever, Talking Heads. But if you think like contextually, the Talking Heads were like completely, totally insane when they
Yeah.
like there was nothing like the talk. It was like, what in the world am I listening to? How is this even a
Yeah.
thing, right? And so they like projected typography on David Byrne's face and filmed him and did all these things. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on about like how many different awesome designs and things the guy did. But he really was. I there's a unbelievable anthology book, which I don't have right now. I can't pull it on screen, but just a retrospective of his entire career, Tibor Kalman. And I will say it's probably the only graphic design book that I have literally read every single word to, you know?
Really?
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of design books and anthology, it's kind of, it's a show and tell. I mean, you kind of look through
Well,
things,
yeah. Right.
you know what I mean?
Sure.
It's a picture book, right?
Right.
I mean, I studied this thing forward to back. I was just completely infatuated with how someone could be so versatile, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they even designed their own, like Christmas gifts and made their own little like chocolates and things like that. I mean, it was everything sort of typography. He was also famous for doing, again, part of the Museum of Modern Art, the watches that only would have one number on it, or all the numbers were blurry and all
Yeah.
the like he did a lot of really, really cool experimental design things, which is just incredible designer.
And he
So
was based in New York, I'm
he's
assuming?
based in New York, based in New York. Yeah, yeah,
So I wonder because yeah, the
yeah.
Talking Heads were always known for just artistic endeavors,
Yeah.
right? So I
Yeah.
wonder if they just ran in the same circles or how that
I have no idea. I have no idea.
and then it's
But,
also interesting to think about the fact that usually, well, I'm not all the time, but it seems like typically artists have all kinds of different artists working on different albums or different poster designs or things like that, right? I mean, you
yeah,
have some stalwarts, right? Or stalwarts, but a lot of times they kind of mix it up. So interesting
yeah.
that they used him for all their stuff.
I think colors is probably what is most well known for. I mean, if you, like, Google Tibor Kalman, it's gonna come up with all the colors thing. He did, I'm gonna screw this up, so this is not 100% correct, but he did an issue. Every single issue of Colors was based on one topic, right? So everything, and it was
Okay.
always very controversial. It was like, here's the one about AIDS, here's the one about
Yeah.
racism, here's the one, it was very, very, uh, you know, aggressive, right, by design. And he did one about race, and it was like, oh, he did. This is all like pre-Photoshop. I mean, this is like the '80s and stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so I mean, we did have photo manipulation, but it wasn't like what it is now. And it was like, I think he made Arnold Schwarzenegger like a black guy. He made the
Mhm.
Pope Chinese. Like he changed everybody's races, right?
Yeah.
And it was all about what does that mean for your perception of how you view those people, right?
Yeah.
Ironically, I believe one of the things was Michael Jackson became a white guy It was like things like that. It was, I know, shocking, right? Um, so anyway, he was just a really interesting graphic designer, that transcended design outside of just graphic images into like all these different aspects of your life. It's really, really interesting. So he's definitely someone that I really studied and admired. So
Yeah.
for
Well, and
sure.
it's interesting
So
when people are, that creative, and prolific, I suppose, that the advertising or graphic design in this case transcends graphic design and
yeah.
becomes a thing and a product
Yeah.
or a thing. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
or in advertising, it becomes a cultural moment, right? Like,
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
um,
Anybody else for you? I mean, I can keep going. I've got more on my list,
I
but
mean, the folks that I looked up to were all, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of writers and, the Luke Sullivans of the world. I'm
Mhm.
dating myself.
Sure.
But that were great. I think what was another really inspiring time, and again, this is years and years and years ago, but when as a shop, when Crispin was putting out all that crazy
Oh yeah.
work, and
Oh
they had
yeah.
a crazy run where they were doing Mini and Burger King and
Yeah.
Volkswagen. I mean,
Yeah.
they had everything under the sun,
Yeah.
and it was like you were kinda jealous because it seemed like they were allowed to do whatever they wanted.
I know. I
If you
know.
look back at, like, Subservient Chicken,
I was just
and
gonna
again,
say
I'm
subservient
dating
chicken.
myself,
Yeah,
but y
subservient chicken was incredible, man.
younger folks, go
Yeah,
look that stuff up
yeah,
because there's
yeah,
lessons to be learned there, but it just seemed like they could do no wrong at the
yeah,
time,
yeah,
and not only did they have the biggest accounts, but they were doing the best work, and
yeah,
you don't
yeah,
often get that
yeah,
combo, and
yeah,
to your point, again and again and again and
yeah.
again, it was not a one hit,
I think
um
what was cool about that time too was, especially as it related to Mini, and we're talking Mini Coopers, right?
yeah,
Was print magazine was still huge. I mean, print magazines in general. I mean, just the
yeah.
concept of print. Like you'd still go to Tower Records or you go wherever, and like people bought magazines. I mean, it was still a very physical thing. And so their media placement of all these different
That
brands
was
in different
awesome.
places was incredible too. So their print campaigns were just legit. I mean, now we're in a digital world and everything's got to be viewed through the prism of your phone and all this, but like their print design was just spectacular. I mean, to the point where like I had like file folders where I would tear out all of
Yeah.
their ads that I knew that they had done, and I would keep like I'd keep a running tally of all these kick-ass
That's because,
mini
and this
ads for
is
them.
most of the
So
time, they weren't just pages in a magazine. They would come up with some
yeah,
wacky
yeah,
insert piece and,
yeah, hmm
puzzle
yeah.
or a magnet,
Yeah, I
all the
mean, they put in, like, iron-on transfers, scratch and
oh, yeah.
sniff things. I mean, it was very they were pretty badass, so, were you teaching at that time when Crispin, was rocking? It was
Yeah, I
Crispin
think
Porter
so. I
Burdusky,
think that
alright.
did overlap when I was
Yeah, because
teaching.
every student I taught, it was like, "I wanna work at Crispin, I wanna work
Yeah,
at Cri,"
yeah.
like, I mean, that was everybody's dream was to get out of Creative Circus, move to
And go
Miami,
to
right?
that's
Because
right.
they were in Miami, and then they opened up a thing in Colorado, I think, right? Denver or
Yeah,
something? Yeah,
maybe somebody fact
um
check us, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine what it would be like working there, though. It's probably just all day,
Well,
every
that
day.
was the
I
other thing I
mean,
was gonna say.
work-life balance probably did not exist, just
There's
for
no
the record.
balance.
So, yeah.
There's no life. There's no life in that equation.
Yeah,
You
um,
know.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's a great account. So, I mean, the other person for me personally, I would give a shout out to one of my professors had this is how teachers make an impact on your life, right?
Yeah.
Bernard Knief, shout out Bern, feel the
Shout
burn,
out.
right? Um, was this crazy Welshman who came to SCAD and taught in whenever I went to college in the mid 90s. And I ended up having him for 3 different classes, and he was an unbelievable professor, and still
Yeah.
is an unbelievable professor. He's an he's trained a gajillion people that are totally awesome. Um,
Was he still teaching? Do you know?
he's still teaching. Yeah, he's still teaching.
Okay.
He is out at the university. I'm gonna screw this up. It's the University of Iowa. He's out at Iowa. He's at Iowa
Yeah,
State
yeah.
is where he is. Iowa State, not the Hawkeyes. He's at the Cyclones, right? He was the dean out there. That's why I was on the advisory council for a while. He invited me to be on the advisory council, and I went out there and gave that speech and everything like that for a couple days. Yeah, he was an unbelievably kick-ass, awesome professor that really helped shape um, design philosophies and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And so I would say is he a mentor? Absolutely. Like he totally
Sure.
helped foster the love, and then post graduation, we became, great friends. He'd come and visit. I mean, he had twins and bottle feed the babies and stuff. I mean, it was, yeah, he's a great dude. I don't get to
That's
see
cool
him
when that
enough.
happens,
So.
though.
Yeah, yeah, he's a really, really cool guy. So, um, yeah, I mean, so, I would say Tibor is probably my number 1, Burns probably my number 2, and then if I had to do a not a Mount Rushmore, but a number 3, there was a time I was infatuated. This is kinda funny. There was a time I was infatuated with, the publication Graphise, right? From a design
Sure.
perspective, it was
Yeah.
always Graphise was like the creme de la creme of all the best posters, all the best whatever, and I
Yeah.
used to buy all their books, and they were crazy expensive. Um, and there was a firm in all their books all the time called Studio Archetype out in San
Okay.
Francisco. Studio Archetype, right? And hilariously enough, their creative director was a guy named Clement Mock, okay?
Wow. It's another
But
mock.
but M-O-K, not M-O-C-K.
Oh,
Clement Mock, and, they just cranked out unbelievably awesome work in the '90s, late '90s. I mean, they were crushing it, for
yeah.
on a design front. Then they opened up they got UPS as an account. They opened up a branch in Atlanta, and not dissimilar to you and your Ron story, like, I stalked them until I finally got a job interview, went in there. I did not get the job, just for the record. Uh, but that's another good like, I haven't thought about those. I just literally thought about that right now. I haven't thought about them in forever. I don't know whatever happened to them or where they went. I mean, I kinda went off on my own path and did whatever, but they had a good run in the '90s from a sheer graphic design perspective, Studio
Yeah.
Archetype. So,
Yeah.
um, I'm trying to think of what they did. I know he did the Mirage out in Vegas. He did their entire,
Wow.
brand, which is just his handwriting actually, in the sketch of
Yeah,
the
'cause it's that
tree.
script. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a scribble, I'm drawing a blank on everyththing else, but another
It's
great
either
design.
lazy or brilliant. It's hard to
Yeah, I mean, I think the article that I read was, everything went through all these different like, couldn't crack the nut. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, just design after design until couldn't
Yeah.
do what they wanted, and then it was one of those, like, "Yeah, just let me write it out and see if it comes," and then it was like,
Wait a
"There it
minute.
is."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there we go.
It's
That
funny how
type
that happens.
Yeah, it is, it is. So, did you have any other, professors or anything on the sort of academia side of
I
life?
mean, I could go on and on. There's a couple more Atlanta guys. Shout out to Brad Ramsey and Jeff Cole. They went on to become they were creative partners forever and went
Yeah.
on to manage and run 3 advertising, if you remember
Okay.
3. They were always great just from a they did great work as well, but
Yeah.
more so for their I had them both as teachers at Portfolio Center.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, studied under both of them, and they were just very it's interesting because teachers, have obviously a critical role, and the difference between the people that you sort of see from afar and admire their creative work versus the people that are actually hands-on
Yeah.
teaching you how to do like, it's a pretty interesting thing, but those guys were great, kept in touch with them for a long time.
Yeah.
Trone, remember they were at
Oh,
Trone?
yeah. I remember Trone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they were the creative directors at Trone for a long time, and then they went to 3.
Okay.
Um, I'd have to look and see it's been a minute. I have to look and
Yeah.
see if they're what those guys are doing now, but they were great too, and, I think, and we'll kinda round the corner here, but, I would say for people out there, I if there's a lesson, to take away from this or a takeaway, it's find the people that really inspire you
Yeah, totally.
and go stalk them.
To a
And I
certain
mean
level.
that I
Yeah.
mean that lovingly.
Yeah.
Go show them that they made an impression on you, and if
Yeah.
that's where you want to work or you want to go and do, make sure that's abundantly clear.
Yeah.
So I would say go do that and pay attention, pay
Yeah.
attention and find and take the time to learn the lessons and do the things and ask the questions and all
Yeah.
those
It's
things.
funny, there was a time in my life where I read Adweek every week, and I was totally in the know on everybody's accounts and who everybody had and all the different agencies in town and this and that, and
Yeah.
now I'm like, "Huh, I don't know. Yeah, whatever happened to those guys?" Or like, I don't have that information at the tip of my tongue. I mean, I guess we're too busy, you know, working on client running our own right? It's a different vibe, I guess,
Yeah, busy and
but
old.
yeah.
What's
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah. So,
Um, so anyway, all right, well, good
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, super good stuff.
Where
Alright.
can all of those people that look up to us find us, Don?
They can send us emails,
Ooh,
through our website at mocktheagency.com and tell us
that's
how
right.
amazing we are, how unbelievably appreciated our work is,
That's
how
right.
handsome and funny we are, all the good things, you know?
All the good
So,
things.
yeah, over at mocktheagency.com and all the socials. So,
Oh,
alright. Oh,
mailman's here. Dog's
yeah.
barking.
Dogs are barking, and on that note, we'll see you next time, right?
We'll see you next time.
Alright, thanks, everybody.
Bye.